Zero. Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Katherine Minett with us today. She's CEO slash sales specialist, coach, trainer, speaker at Minett Sales Academy. She is the creator of the sales confidence formula, has 30 plus years experience in sales. We're going to talk obviously about sales today. I'm going to talk about Katherine's background and everything she's been up to lately. This pod is brought to you by podpire.com. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start a podcast, scale a podcast, and monetize a podcast, you can go to podpire.com. Kat, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you for having me on your show. And thank you for the introduction. Yes, I am a veteran of sales. I've been doing sales for over 30 years, and I pretty well started when I was a young child selling door to door apples and oranges, and then I graduated to selling car washing services. But I never really got officially into sales until after I graduated at university. I come from Liverpool in the UK, hence a little bit of an accent. And I graduated from university in Leicester, De Montfort University, with a business degree. And unfortunately, they don't teach you in business degrees, they don't teach you how to sell. So my first job in sales was a bit of a failure because I didn't know how to sell and I lacked the confidence. And without the training, without the confidence, it's not a strong foundation to be success in sales. So I quit that job before I got fired. And then I emigrated to Australia and carried on my career in sales only because, well, I had to do it because it was the only experience I had. So I thought I'd give it another go. And again, I didn't get the training. So I decided then, well, if I'm going to have a career in sales, I'm going to have to teach myself how to sell. So that's when I started on my journey of learning about selling, not only learning it, but implementing it, practicing it, and putting everything into play so that I could get better and better at it. And I also studied personal development. So I'm in my 20s now. I was studying personal development, which I think is also a critical skill because that was able to help me with the mindset stuff that helped me shift my fears around selling. And within 18 months of arriving in Australia, I was rep of the year for a large pharmaceutical company. And when I look back now, this is like 30 years later, I look back to see, well, how was I successful in sales from nothing, from failing to being successful? And I realized that there's key things that you need to have in order to be successful. So a couple of years ago, it was over 2 years now, when I was made redundant, which was a blessing for me, I was in a position where it was a gift. And so I was made redundant and I decided, well, what I want to do now is I want to give back. I want to help other people to learn how to sell. So there's a lot of business owners out there that need to sell. There's a lot of salespeople that need to sell and don't get the training in the companies, just like I didn't. And if I can reach out and help those people with my sales confidence formula, which is the program I put together, which encompasses everything that I believe a successful salesperson or business owner in sales needs. And so that's what I'm doing today. I am the sales success specialist and the creator of the sales confidence formula, which is an online training program, coaching and training for business owners and sales professionals. So that's what I spend most of my time doing now, Charles.
Self confidence. I work with a bunch of founders and CEOs, and seems that confidence was never an issue for them. Or am I wrong about that? And do people actually get nervous or just don't believe in themselves before showing up to a sales call?
Well, I think it will depend on the person. The thing is, not everyone, not people are not immune to fear. Fear is a natural human emotion, and we all get it, whether people admit it or not. Everyone has an element of fear that rises up, especially when you're starting out and you're doing something new, whether it's selling, whether it's marketing, doing a podcast or putting a video out on social media or doing a presentation. Fears will come up. Even the most successful professional people in business will have an element of fear that rises in them. And in fact, a small amount of fear, creating that adrenaline, the hormone that comes up when you're in fear, is not a bad thing. The problem is when you don't know how to control that emotional rush and that adrenaline, the cortisone that kicks in, it's swimming around the body. For a lot of people, if they don't know how to control those emotions, the fear emotions, then it can disrupt what they're trying to do. It can sabotage them. So the successful people, it's not that they don't have those fears. They've learned how to control them so that they can continue moving forward and do what they need to do. And so there's a whole range of people who don't know how to have the skills, so they let it sabotage them, all the way up to people who get the fears, but they've got the skills and you can't see it. I describe it like being a swan on a lake. You know, where you watch a swan on a lake and they glide past beautifully, smoothly, just a little ripple in the top surface of the water. And then underneath, what's happening, Charles? Those little flippers are going backwards and forwards like this. They're flapping away. So there's a lot of turbulence underneath. There's a lot of action happening. And that's what it's like for the professional salesperson, the professional speaker, business owner. You know, inside, they're working hard, they're doing what they need to do. But on the outside, it all looks very graceful, smooth, and professional. And that's what I help people do. In fact, if you listen, I'm sure your listeners would benefit. I've got a lot of free training that I provide people to help them start to understand what selling is and how they need to approach selling, and a lot of the skills and techniques they need to learn. So at the end, I'll give you a link, and they can download, or they can get access to the training that I provide free for people who are learning about me for the first time. So I'll give you the links for that.
And fear, how does one dissipate that? Me, it seems that there's an absence of fear in me since 5, 6, 7, 8 years since I've gone on the path of self-improvement, challenging myself through incredibly hard physical events, also mental ones, building multiple startups at the same time. But pretty sure that there's a biochemical factor to it. I do sports every day and challenge myself every day. I don't often feel fear. I do have anxiety when I go into crowds or when I fly, for example, because I don't have full control. I mean, the plane could crash, right? But I don't have like deep-seated fears. Maybe when I go into psychedelic trips, I don't have much control, or an Ironman, you know, waking up at 5 and not sure if you're actually gonna finish the thing. But these things don't occur quite often, right? Like on a day-to-day, I don't have fears. So is it because I put myself through tough shit on a daily basis? Like, why am I that way?
Yes, I think it sounds like, Charles, you're the sort of person that throws yourself into difficult challenges all the time, and which is great, because by doing that, doing those things, you are challenging your body, but you're also getting used to doing those challenging things. And it's the same for me now. When I switched over from being an employee to being self-employed, there's a lot of things that I've had to do that I'd never had to do before, like getting on podcasts. So I started getting on podcasts just over a year ago. And the first time I got on podcast, I was nervous. I wrote out the answers to every question. So it was very robotic, but I knew, and I felt nervous getting on. Whereas now, because I've done many podcasts and radio shows, I'm used to it. I don't need to plan it out. I can just go with the flow, listen to the question, answer it. And it's because I've put myself into that situation, and I've repeated that and repeated it and repeated it, just like you did. You've put yourself out into those situations. And it's you did mention that you still have fears of flying, for example. So because you're not in control. And so there's still work for you to do, I suppose, in terms of being able to overcome fear in situations where you don't have control, because it sounds like you have overcome the fears when you have control, because you've now got techniques and strategies that you call on to be able to move you forward. So it's not that you don't have the fear, it's just that in certain situations you can manage it, but in other situations you can't. And so I think we're all like that. Some people who have fears around sales or making presentations, they may not have fears around doing other things because they've been doing them. So I think I always say the first step to getting confidence in anything, it's not confidence that you need, it's courage first. Courage is the precursor to confidence. Courage is that being able to step into the fear, into the taking the action steps of the thing that you fear. And you have to remember as well, this is a natural it's a natural occurring thing to protect us, because back in the old days when we were living in caves, we needed this fear to protect ourselves from wild animals attacking us. And so that inbuilt safety mechanism still works for us today. Unfortunately, for many people, that fear mechanism kicks in when it's not a life-threatening situation. So really, even being on an aeroplane for you, Charles, it's not a life-threatening situation like the threat of a tiger or bear coming at you. Because although you're not in control, other people who are professionals who have the training are in control. And the other people on the plane are not sitting there having fears. So it's just something that you need to work on. It's not something that, unless the plane is actually, and it's very rare, by the way, the amount of aeroplanes that take off and fly around the world to the amount that actually crash is so minimal. You're more likely to be hurt and killed in a car accident than you are in an aeroplane. So I think sometimes in that sort of scenario, it's doing that research as well and understanding the situation you're in and what the reality is of the fear. But at the same time, there are strategies you can put in place to help you overcome those fears.
Thing is, I'm probably one of the most chill dudes in the whole airplane. There's a bunch of people freaking out every time we hear a turbulent zone, and that sticks on me because I'm human. And also, I think I'd be I'd better face a tiger than like be in an airplane, because at least the tiger, I have control on my physical ability. You know, I can run. While in an airplane, they don't even put parachutes if this thing crash, and I can't run to the pilot because first I probably can't if the plane is crashing. Second, I don't know how to drive a plane, and yeah, third, if it crashes, it crashes. And an object at 500 km/h crashing to the ground, you don't have much chances of survival. And I guess all these shows of plane crashing is always a deep thoughts that you have that never really goes away, because I've been on
Yeah.
airplanes for quite some time now, but fully understand everything that you mentioned here. And yeah, people have this fear of rejection, right? Like when they go
Yeah.
on sales calls. Me, I started my career making 200 calls a day. Think there's such a thing as immunity to practice, but also sometimes like blunt trauma, like when you had, I don't know, people trying to burn your business or try to attack you personally. Like these events, they really suck, like when they happen to you, but I think you also grow out of that and you have a permanent shell that you carry out with you on a daily basis. I want to ask you though, like, how do you get in touch with your clients? Like, what is your funnel here? How do you get in touch with them?
How do I get in touch with clients? Well, in terms of marketing for business, to be able to bring them in, to be able to make sales. So, well, podcast is, there's many ways. Podcast is one of my chosen ways. Why? Because I love talking to people. I love sharing my knowledge and my skills. And I think that podcasting is a great medium to be able to get out to a lot of people, which means I can have an impact on a lot of people, whether they reach back out to me to become a client eventually of mine, or even to follow me and to get my free trainings. I know that I'm making a difference in people's lives using the medium of podcasting. So that's the first way. I also put out a lot of free PDFs, content, things that people can download so that they can learn from that. And obviously that's a marketing activity whereby people download a PDF. That means that I get their email, which means I can keep in touch with them and keep sending them more information, more trainings. And while I'm doing that, I'm building that know, like, and trust. Because people hearing me for the first time and hearing you, Charles, for the first time, they're not necessarily going to buy from you. The touch points has increased now. So people are more weary and more skeptical these days. Competition is high. And so for someone to become a client, they need to get to know you. And how do you do that? Well, you get yourself out on podcasts for one, but also by emailing them consistently with valuable content, not selling, selling, selling. And I don't do that on my emails, is providing value, value, value. Build that relationship by building value, and by creating the relationship, they get to know you through emails, through podcasts. I also do free weekly sales masterclasses. So I have a sales masterclass that I run. It's live and it's on Zoom. So I teach on the class. They learn about me, they learn about the sales confidence formula, and they learn strategies that they can implement straight away. And so I talk about the mind shifting as well as sales strategies and sales conversation skills. So that way, again, it's a way for me to collect email addresses. It's an opportunity to add value to people. They get to know, like, and trust me. And also speaking live at events. So that's one of the things I'm looking to do more of now, is to get out onto stage, onto people's summits and their events, and being able to speak live, because the world is opening up now, which is great. So we can move away from doing everything on Zoom, and people want live events now. They want to come and sit in person and see their speakers and touch them, shake their hand, look in their eyes. And so that's another medium for bringing leads or customers into your business. And again, getting them into an email system. For me, I take them through my sales funnel, which is my sales masterclass, and then at the end of the masterclass, then I invite them to join me on a call. Now, some people choose to book a call straight away. They just go, look, I've seen enough, Katherine, I want to work with you. They book a call, I have a conversation with them, and it's an interview both ways. They decide whether I'm suitable for them in terms of being their coach and their trainer. And I also decide, are they suitable for me to coach? Have they got a big enough problem that I can help them solve? And will they do the work? Will they take those action steps that they need to do to be successful? And that is my way of bringing people in, getting to know them, they get to know me, and then I invite them into the program if they're suitable. What about you, Charles? What sort of methods do you use?
Cold outreach, a whole lot, 100 meetings per week. It gets me, so not too shabby. The pods, there's 4 purposes. So giving out for free, I think that's quite honorable. Second, I grow my network. Third, I get sales. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. This podcast, really ikigai. It's fun also just to interview a bunch of humans and learn. I don't even read books nowadays. I just quiz my guests and ask them whatever I want. Curious though about your offer, like what's your end offer? Is it one-to-one coaching? Is it like a cohort? Is it a course? Like what do you offer at what price point?
Yeah. So what I do is there's a lot of just coaches out there and there's a lot of trainers out there. So I've combined the two because I believe that if you just do training, just like picking up a book or you attend a training or you download a training program, that's great. That's a good first step. It'll give you some knowledge. However, the learning comes in the doing. And the problem with a training or a book is it's an event. You read the book and then you've got to take the action. You do the training and then you've got to do the action. And a lot of people fall by the wayside then. And there's evidence now, there's proof that 90% of what you learn within a week is gone. So if you don't implement it straight away, you lose the knowledge. So you've really just wasted your time. So I provide the coaching to support the training. So I have the training whereby people go through the training at their own pace, although the weekly coaching, and it's a group coaching, because I believe in group, because one, it's more effective time management wise for me. I can help more people, but at the same time, people benefit from listening and learning and seeing other people progress. So they're going through as a cohort, they go through the training with other people who are going through the training at the same time, which means they can learn and they feel supported by the group. So I have a private Facebook group for my students as well. And so that's where I set myself apart. I have my unique program that I created. So you can't get it from anyone else. It's mine. It's the sales confidence formula. And it's based on the 30 years of skills and knowledge and experience that I've had. And I've brought it together and I take people through it, but I coach them through it. And what happens is instead of the learning falling off, The coaching means it keeps that level of learning, and as it drops off, you push it back up again. And I guide people through to keep them moving forward through the training. And the other thing is, a lot of people have blocks that stops them from taking the action, the fears. So I can talk them through those fears and give them the techniques as well, and make sure they do the techniques so that they can move forward and get results. So it's about getting results at the end of the day. There's no point doing a training if at the end of it you can't get sales results or sales training. It's a waste of your time. So I want success for my students, and that's how I set myself apart from the rest, and that's how I help my students get sales success.
So it's multiple months, and it must be multiple of thousands of dollars. Is that how it works?
So once people get on a call, that's when I go through all my value offerings and what's available. So it's not just a one-off price. It's a package that I offer. And so I go through that when I get on a call. If people want to know how to work with me and how it all works, the best thing is to get on a call with me. And that way they can get to know exactly how the sales confidence formula works, exactly what's available, because obviously I pack it out with lots of valuable additional tools like the profiling tools, like sales IQ tools, hypnosis tools to help them with their confidence and their fears. So I pack it all out, and then there's a package, and there's different options depending on the students where they're at the time. So if anyone's interested to learn more, the best thing is to get on a sales call, and I can give you the link so you can share that with your listeners and they can find out, because I want to find out not just whether they're suitable as a student to be able to do the training, that they have a big enough problem. The reason they need a big problem is people won't take action if they haven't got a big problem. If it's like, I'm a 7 out of 10, it's like, I can keep going, everything's all fine, then they're not going to take the action. But when people go, you know what, enough's enough, line in the sand, that's it, I'm going to change. And you would have done that, Charles, at some point. You would have said, enough's enough, I've got to change what I'm doing, and I've got to start doing this instead. It was the same for me. Enough's enough. They're the people I want. Enough's enough. I'm ready to make a change and commit. So I'm looking for people who'll make that commitment. And it's not everybody that I speak to, I have to say. Some people are not quite ready. They have to come back later when they are ready.
Right.
So if that's you, come on in if you're ready. Come and have a chat.
Right. Where at?
Minett Sales Academy. We'll put the link in. I've got a chat link for booking a call. So I've got minettssalesacademy.com/book a call. And I'll give you those links so you can share them. That's one way. Some people might not be ready for the call just yet. They want to learn more about me because they've only just met me. Then come to a sales masterclass, which is minettssalesacademy.com/sales masterclass. And the next one, they're usually on a Thursday. I do them live, so you get a chance to ask questions as well. So it's not a recorded webinar, it's a live webinar. So if you go to the minettssalesacademy.com/sales masterclass, then it'll tell you when the next date is, and you can register a seat for that.